two sisters were found deceased in 1942 in New Zealand. The initial detective's son would solve the case 40 years later after reading about the perpetrator in a book. On August 21, 1942, Annie and Rosen Smith were found deceased by a neighbor in their Salvation Army home in Wa, New Zealand. Both were found lifeless from multiple head injuries inflicted with an axe. And in the case of Rosen, who lost her life in the bedroom with an iron fire poker. The police believed that they were slain 13 days earlier on August 8th. 62-year-old Brigadier Annie Smith and her sister, 74-year-old Rosen, had their home in the town's Salvation Army Hall. Annie, an ardent evangelist, had spent much of her adult life as a missionary in Japan, and she had an affection for the country and its people that, along with her domineering manner, made enemies of some. When New Zealand was at war with Japan, at the sisters' Wellington funeral, the Salvation Army Commissioner, J. Evans Smith, said it appeared that a vindictive person had resented Annie's denunciation of sin. She was well known for attacking evil and could even be considered a Christian martyr, while Rosen was kind, unassuming, and gracious. During the investigation, it was revealed that two visitors had been at the house on August 9th. One was a woman who passed through the Smith's kitchen, not noticing the body of Annie lying in a damaged Morris chair. The visitor went into the hall to pray. The other visitor was an 8-year-old girl who had been playing with other children nearby. She entered the house, saw Annie, and carried on playing, throwing pillows out a window to children who threw them back. She told neither playmates nor her parents of the grisly find because she was too frightened. Both women's clothing was disordered in a way that suggested a sexual motive, but there was no evidence of assault, nor did robbery appear to be the motive, as money was found in both sisters' possessions. The slayings were investigated by Detective Bruce Young, but he was unable to bring anyone to book, and went to his grave in 1952 with the case unsolved. 30 years later, in 1982, Bruce's son Sherwood Young was reading a book by former lawyer George Israel Joseph, By Person or Persons Unknown, which mentioned a client of his whom Joseph called X. This man, when passing of cancer, had asked to see Joseph and told him that he ended the lives of the Smiths. Sherwood Young, who had followed his grandfather's calling into the New Zealand police and at that time held the rank of inspector, contacted Joseph for more information. He told the lawyer that he was Bruce Young's grandson, and the Smith slayings were his grandfather's cases that had never been solved. Joseph then said that 20 years earlier, in 1962, Leo Sylvester Hannon confessed to ending the lives of Annie and Rosen, as well as that of Herbert William Brunton. Hannon was sentenced to life in prison 12 years earlier in 1950 for taking the life of Frederick Andrew State. In October 1962, Hannon lost his life after he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. With this knowledge, Sherwood was able to posthumously solve his grandfather Bruce's cases. He was also able to confirm that Hannon was a serial perpetrator